Welcome back. I'm GTGD and this is video 11 where I'm going to implement a main menu scene. So we currently have our game scene and well, I need a main menu. I mean, just about every game out there, well, most games anyway, will have some sort of a main menu from which you can start a new game or load an existing game. So that's what we're going to implement here. We're mostly going to focus on the UI in this video. And basically what you'll learn here and what you'll do here, you can apply it across a whole lot of different projects that you'll work on, and it's basically what I do too. It's pretty common and easy sort of stuff that we're going to do in this video. In the next video, then you're actually going to write the main menu script to power a bit of the main menu, and more will come after that once we start implementing saving the world state and loading from file and restoring the world from the loaded data from the file. So let's go ahead and get started. Now the first thing I'm actually going to do is to make myself two icons, and I'll just turn off the NPC there. I just created a new layer and I'm going to call this like save icon. I'm going to make myself a save icon and an exit icon. So in the game scene I'm going to have a save button, save game button, and I'm going to have an exit button. So when you press the exit button, it'll take you to the main menu, and from there you can actually exit the game, or you can start a new game or load the game. And what I'm going to do here, because my icons will have a border inside of Unity, I'm going to have that. I'm going to draw them to be a bit smaller, a bit more on the inside. I'm going to use the square tool. I'm just going to use a black color for now. I'll change that later, and just draw a square to begin with. I'm then going to use my line tool and just sort of draw this diagonal corner there. And what I'm going to make is a floppy disk. So I'm actually going to make a floppy disk, sort of an icon that represents save, and it's a pretty common way to denote saving. Then just sort of fill that in a bit like that. Okay, that's the first part done. Then something like this coming out like that is also pretty common in terms of appearance, and just drag it down like that. Okay, now I'm going to use the eraser tool and try not to wreck it. So, okay. No, that wasn't very great. I'll just get rid of that, a bit of that, and that will do. That's pretty good. So I'm going to just fill it in with white. And if I need to move it around here, if I haven't got it quite center, I can, you just use the select tool and do that. But I'm not going to bother. I think that looks fine to me. And I'm just going to go ahead and download this PNG. Okay, next. And I'll rename that obviously later and copy it over into my textures folder in Unity. My next icon, which I'll just rename here, I'm just going to call it exit icon. And this is even simpler. So this one I'm just going to make a door, basically, just a rectangle representation, something super basic like that, thereabouts, that size. And I'm just going to draw an arrow exiting out of it, something very, very basic like that. Just pretty much, and just like that, and that should do. And I'm just gonna fill it with white and go ahead and download that as well, and of course save this file out. So save as.pixel, and what I've been using is my name. I'll just call it pixel art. That's what I've been using, so I'll just overwrite the file in Unity. So anyway, go ahead, prepare your files and bring them over into Unity. Okay, so in Unity I've got my icons there, and I don't think I really need to do anything with them. I don't need to change their size or anything. It's just for the UI. And I guess what I'm going to do now is to create a new canvas. So let's just make this canvas here, and I'm going to call it canvas menu. Okay, so inside of it I'm going to have a panel save. So I'll just go ahead and make a new panel, and I'm going to call it panel save. And I'm going to put a button in there. Now I'm just going to change its anchoring so it's up at the top right corner. And I'm going to change the sizes to be really small, 70 by 70, and just move it there. So hit Alt and push it over there. Okay, and I don't need it to be visible. I'm just going to move the tile palette down. Move this a bit further down too. I'll just leave that like that. Okay, so I'm just going to get rid of the texture. So there, the panel disappeared. because more important for me inside of the panel is putting in a button. And I'm just thinking about it. I might just recycle an old button that I have, which is this prefab, the construction button prefab. I'm just going to drop that onto the panel save, and I'm going to just unpack it completely. So right click, prefab, unpack completely. So it's completely disassociated from the prefab now, and it doesn't matter what changes happen to this, it won't affect this, and the other way as well. So now I'm going to call this basically button save. Alright, and I'm going to start editing this as well. What I do want to do is I'm just going to push this up to the top right like that, so you can actually see that there now appearing. Let's go have a look at it in the editor as well. I just double clicked on it to move it over. As for the tooltip text, I'm going to bring it down so that it's over there, and I'm going to change the text to save game. And as for the button save itself, I'm going to change that from the eraser icon to the save icon. Okay, and also, something else I realized, in my UI, I'm making the actual icons blue in color, right? But it doesn't look very nice. Something you can do is to just change the image border color instead. So you know how I've got this highlighted color here? And it's affecting the image, the graphic image that's on button save itself, which is the save icon. I'm not going to do that this time. I'm actually going to just affect the image border. So now the image border will go blue, and which I think makes more sense. And this save icon will stay as it is. As for the tooltip text, let's disable that. So we don't need that enabled now. And we already have this in here where when you have the event trigger, your pointer hovers over it, it's going to enable the tooltip text. And when you hover off it, it's going to disable that. Now we don't have a script or any code for this button to actually do anything. So the on click is going to remain empty in this video. It will be a little while till we get there, maybe after the next video. So probably video 13 or something like that. Okay, so that's panel save done. Now I'm going to do another panel. So I'm going to do a panel, let's say exit to main menu. So panel exit to main menu. And it doesn't have to be, by the way, the panel doesn't have to be 70 by 70. Just looking at it, since the button is a lot smaller, I can just make it like 55 by 55. And that probably would have worked out just fine as well. I'll just shift it back over to the right corner, and panel to exit main menu, I'll also make it 55 by 55, and this one I'm going to shift to the top right of the screen. So I'm just going to shift it over there, and this one, yeah, I just need to change it from button save to button exit to main menu. Alright, now the icon needs to be different. This is going to be the exit icon. Alright, and that's pretty good. So, and I just need to change the tooltip text to exit, and I do need to have a look at it actually, so let's go have a look at it, see what it looks like. Yeah, see, it's a bit off the screen, so we'll fix that very easily. So I'm going to change this from save game to exit game, and I'm just going to move it just that much, and that will do, and go ahead and disable that again. Alright, so I guess that's our panel exit to main menu and panel save done, but you know what, I am going to make a small script, a super small, simple script that I'm going to attach to this button exit to main menu that will get us to the main menu scene. So why don't we just go ahead and do that? So what I'm going to do is to make a new C# script that's basically called Game Manager Menu. So go ahead, create C# script, and I'm going to call it Game Manager, and I'm just going to call it menu. Could have been main menu, menu, whatever. You call it whatever you want. Okay, and I'm going to open it up. Okay, so inside of this, I am going to using Unity Engine.Scene Management. So this is how you change scene. You need this inside of your script so that you can change scenes. So let's go ahead, and we're going to only have one method in here. So it's really basic, and it's simply public. It has to be public because it's going to be referenced by the button. The button's going to have a link to this. So public void load main menu scene, and then just your round brackets and close it off. Okay, and inside of that, I'm simply going to say scene manager dot load scene. Which scene? It's scene number 0. We're gonna set that up in the build settings. We're gonna go ahead and create a new main menu scene and set that as scene number 0. So we're basically telling this to load the very first scene in the build setting, and you're about to see what that's all about, as it's nothing complicated anyway. So let's go ahead to our game manager and attach the script. Let's not forget to do that. Go back to the button, exit to main menu, and add an on-click thing here, and basically drop in the game manager and go ahead and game manager menu and say load main menu scene. Okay, now we actually need to make this scene. So this is going to work, but let's go ahead and make our scene. So I'm going to make a new create. So right click. So I went to the scenes folder, create, and in here there's a scene. So create scene. I'm going to call it main menu scene, and you can call it absolutely anything. Now we can go to our build settings, file, build settings, and now this is, you can actually build and run the game, by the way, and it will actually launch in the Unity. It'll be its own exe file. It'll ask you where do you want to actually build it. You just say which folder you want to build it in, your built game will be there. But we're going to just drag in our main menu scene here. Currently it's index number 1. We need to make that 0. All you do is just drag it up. And that's it. It's 0. So this is what's going to get loaded up. Great. So I'll just save my progress so far. As for the main menu scene, let's go ahead and make it visually more interesting. It's going to be right now just going to be a blue skybox or something like that. So I'm going to go ahead and actually copy the grid here, copy the light 2D. So I just held down left shift and selected these items, Control C, jump over to the main menu scene and just, well, I'll just do Control V and paste them in. Okay, it's all blue. That's because the main camera is looking at the skybox. Change it to solid color, change it to black, and now that looks pretty similar, and orthographic size to 9. Okay, so that's our main menu scene done. I'll save that, I'll jump back to the game scene, and you can test out the buttons right now, just see what it looks like. So if I just run that. Alright, so that's my save game, nothing happens obviously if I click, that's exit game. So if I click that, there we go, it loaded the main menu scene. Okay, now we need to actually set up the UI in the main menu scene. And I'll have 3 canvases, that's even correct. Plural anyway, I have no idea. So I'll put in here a canvas and I'm going to call it canvas main, and then I'll just duplicate it 2 times. I don't actually need to, but I'm going to have here call this one canvas new game, and I guess this other one will be canvas load game. I would think would be a logical thing to call it. Yeah, that's exactly what I want to do. For now, I'll just disable these 2. In fact, they will normally be disabled. Canvas main will, from whatever buttons you press on that, will activate this other canvas, and then you'll see the buttons on that. You're about to see all that, so we're just going to set up the UI. There's not really going to be much functionality in there, but let's go ahead and just do some stuff in here anyway. So UI, add a UI panel to the canvas main, and okay, that's our panel, and it's huge. I want to set the anchor to centered, and so that's because I want to change the size here. I want it to be 400 by 300. I don't want it to fill up the screen like that. I want to have a nice concise main menu. I will change this appearance of the panel. I just want a border. I don't want it filled, so I'm going to use the blue color, and then I'm going to hit uncheck fill center. So now I've got myself a nice blue border. Inside of my panel, I need a vertical layout group, so I'm just going to put that in, a vertical layout group. And this is to nicely organize everything for me without me having to think a thing. So I'm going to turn off child force expand in height and width and use child scale for height and width. This way, whatever button size I put in, it will be respected. And I want the child alignment to middle center, and padding and spacing and all that. I'm just going to put 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, everything, and I didn't have to, but the most important actually was the spacing itself. Okay, so that's pretty cool. I think I can now go ahead and add some buttons, I guess. I think that's what I'll do next. I don't think there's anything else to do here, and if there is, I'll remember it eventually. So a button text mesh pro. Okay, so this is my new button, and I guess I should just call it something like button new game. And I like caps lock, so I'm going to put that on, button new game. And that's my button new game, and I want to make it a lot bigger so it's a lot easier for me to see. So I'm thinking something like 200 by 50, thereabouts. Now it has a sprite. Now I'm going to change. I'm going to give it a border. So I'm going to add to this, I'm going to add a UI image. Inside of the image, and I'm just going to force expand this to fill all the space. So now it's got the same space as the button itself. You're about to see that I'm going to turn it into a border. It does need a sprite, so I can uncheck fill center. So now I've got that option there. So I can say uncheck fill center. And as for the button new game itself, I'm going to turn the button's color right down. There we go. So that's what the effect that I'm after. Now as for the text, I'm going to go and change the font. I will use our low poly, I mean not a low poly, our pixel font there, the Minecraft one. Change the vertex color to white, and that is looking like what I want. And I'm just going to put in here new game. That's the text that's going to be displayed there. I can do other things. Let me see. It is all centered, so I don't think I have to do anything there. I guess what I would like to do is my highlighted color, I will change it to UI border. And what is it that I'm highlighting? No, I don't want to highlight the button itself. I'm going to highlight the border. So I just call this image. Why don't I just, for our own sake, call it image border? Something like just a border. So you know that that's what the border is. So we've got our button new game there. Now it is going to have some functionality. What this button is going to do, it's going to be responsible for turning on the canvas new game. It'll switch that game object on so you can see the buttons there, and it will disable this canvas main. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's add 2 of these on clicks, and we'll add on canvas new game. And we're going to say game object set active, and it's going to be true. And we're going to put canvas main in here, which is its own canvas, what it's on. And we're going to do the same thing, game object set active and false. So what this will do is it'll enable the new game canvas and disable canvas main. And if you just run that super fast, and there you go. I just clicked it and it disappeared, and you can see canvas new game is operational. Great. Now while I'm at it, I want to make another 2 buttons there. So I'm going to have a button load game and a button exit game. So let's go ahead and make this one button load game, and we'll change all the parameters on it to reflect what it's supposed to do. So in terms of the button itself, it's not going to switch on the canvas new game, it's going to switch on the canvas load game. So I'm going to come here and say game object set active true for canvas load game. It will still disable canvas main. So we'll swap over to this other canvas which has other buttons on it, and eventually it will have all of the save games that we've got saved in different files. You'll see all of those files represented in buttons. You'll come across that in another video. It'll be super interesting, and you'll be able to see how to very easily have multiple save files, so lots of different people can play on the same computer your game. So anyway, continuing on here before I completely lose my train of thought and have no idea what I'm doing anymore. Let's see here. It's instead of new game, it's going to be load game for the text. So now it's called load game. Good. And for this one, it's going to be button exit game, the last button. Okay, and this one I will need a script, so it won't be in this video, so I'll just get rid of these on it. No on clicks here. We will write a script in the next video, and it will have the necessary functionality, and we'll need to remember to put it in here in this on click. Now we just go ahead to the text and go ahead and edit that. It's not new game anymore, it's exit game. Alright, so that is our canvas main more or less done. I can just hide that. Oh, well, I won't do that. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to just save myself a bit of time. I'm actually going to copy this panel. So I just selected the panel, Control C, and I can go ahead and just disable canvas main. And I'm just going to enable canvas new game and just press Control V and hope for the best. Okay, yeah, there we go. I pasted it in, but I have to move it under. Okay, so it's the same panel, and I'm just going to change basically what's inside of here, because inside of here I want a input field, I want a start game button, and I want a back button. When you hit the back button, it'll go back to canvas main. So let's go ahead and do that. I don't need a button exit game, so I'll just delete that. And I do need a UI, basically input field, text mesh pro, and I'm just going to move this to the top because this is where the player is actually going to, enter the details of the player name, and it needs to be basically big enough as well. So I'm going to change it to be like, I'm thinking about it like 300 wide, at least 40 high, so it's a bit more visible there. I'm thinking about it, do I need a border? Yes, I probably do, so I'm going to just add a UI image, and once again I need to put a sprite in there, the default sprite from Unity, so UI sprite is a default sprite, and just check uncheck fill center, and yes, just force expand it to fill that. So what I've done is to just click on that and then left alt and then select that. And as for the input field, I'm going to change it to a black like color and reduce the opacity a whole lot. Okay, so that's pretty good. I can see the border now for it, but I can't see the text. So the first one is the placeholder text. That's what you see, and it's prompting you to fill it in. So first of all, I need to change that to our pixel font, and I'm just going to change the vertex color of that to as bright as possible. It's partially translucent, so that's why it looks a little gray, and that's fine. I'm going to turn off italics, I'm going to center it. And I'm going to say in here, it's going to say enter player name. Okay, so that's prompting you to enter the player name. Now, as for the text field itself, once again, change that to our pixel font. So that's the other component here, text field, other game object rather, and change the vertex color to full white, and also center it as well. That's my personal preference. I mean, you don't have to. That's just what I prefer. So I'm changing that to full white. Awesome. So that's my input field more or less done here, and I can just call this while I'm at it for a bit of consistency, image border. Okay. Now this one is going to be a button start game. So that's what I'm going to call it. And once again in this, for now I'm going to have to get rid of these. There's no on clicks. We need to write, as I said, the necessary script, so that way we can start the new game. What will happen with this button is it will capture the player's name, put it in player pref, so basically save it just locally on the computer. It will load the game scene up, rather. You'll load the game scene up, and then it will apply that player name to the player character, and that's basically the name that will be used for the save file, etc. as well. So that's our button start game mostly done. Just need to edit the text and just say, instead of new game here, it's going to be start game. Okay, now we've got our button load game, and I want this to be simply back. So button back. So that's what it's going to be called now. And button back does need these. And what's going to happen here is instead, I'm going to turn on the main menu, and I'm going to disable the not load game menu. I'm going to disable the canvas new game. So okay, just set here game object set active false. Okay, and that will at least allow us to go back, and of course I need to edit the text and say back. That's as simple as that. I think that's pretty self-explanatory what that's about. Okay, so that's our canvas new game. If I go ahead and just disable that for now, and if, for example, I turn on this one, just save this, all our progress, and hit run, and go ahead and run that. Yeah, this is a Unity thing, so my stuff just disappears in the editor. Don't be too worried about it. Okay, so if I go ahead and click new game, there we go. We can actually do something. So let's say we're going to enter player names. I entered player there. Start a game, can't do anything at the moment. But if I head back, yep, it works. There we go. So, okay, awesome. So let's stop that. Let's go ahead and fill out our canvas new game. I think I am going to copy the same panel from the, well, not the same panel, the panel from the new game canvas, just because it has the back button there. Actually, really, to be honest, it doesn't even matter. Whatever. So I'll just go throw this one onto the canvas load game, activate it, and let's have a look at it as well. So let me just try moving it because I don't see it on the screen anywhere. Oh, and I see what's happened. It simply lost the scale. So go ahead and just bump up the scale, everything to 1. So if you see that and you get alarmed, which I did there, it was actually the scale was simply lost. For whatever reason, it had gone to zeros. So just go ahead and restore it by putting the scale 1, 1, 1, 1. And yeah, that's okay. Now in this one, I actually need a scroll view. And that's actually the main thing in here. These other things are not important. So get rid of, delete those both. So I'm going to add in here a UI scroll view, and as for my scroll view, I think I might just like manually set its size. I'm just having a think about that because I suppose I will manually set its size. It's pretty confusing to deal with it otherwise. So I'm thinking of something. This is what I've done before. What I've got noted down is that I made my scroll view basically 370 by 260, or is it 280? 280, I reckon it is, and that seems to fit all right. I'll just expand the scroll view, and you can see it's got a content area here. I'm going to move the button back into the content area in just a moment, but first I'm just going to go to my content area, and I'm going to add a vertical layout group and the content size fitter. Actually, while I just remember, in the scroll view, turn off the horizontal scroll bar, not required. So that at least won't be there. Now going back to the content, actually, you know what, while I'm at it as well, scroll view, sorry about that, but while I'm at it, in the scroll view, just get rid of this well, the color there completely. I've just set it to fully transparent in the scroll view. I don't want a background. I just want my buttons cleanly listed for me there. I just prefer that. So inside of my content now, so I'm going to go ahead and basically just add in a vertical layout group. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to put it in middle center, not child force expand, but rather use child scale. And that's what we'll do. I think that will do. I don't even need to add all the padding, to be honest. And then I'm going to add a content size fitter, which is the only way to get the scroll view to actually work. And vertical fit, I'm going to put it to minimum size. Okay, now I'm going to actually take the button back and throw it inside of here. And as for button back, I think I better just make that button a bit longer, because I don't know how long the player names can be, and at least that way it'll match with other stuff. And I think later on I'll probably make a prefab out of this button back and change it a bit, and that will be what gets populated in here with all of the different save files that you can click on and then load that game up. Now as for this button back, let's drop in here canvas load game, and that's going to be game object.setActive false and canvas main true. So that'll take us back to our canvas main menu. And to test that my scroll bar is going to work, I'm going to just duplicate the back button. So let me just save that. Let me just go ahead and duplicate it quite a few times and hit play. And I'm going to also do it at runtime as well, just because I don't trust it. There's personal issues there. And I guess that's okay. It looks like everything's fine. So if I hit load game, they're all there. Now let's say if I delete all of those, and now at runtime, go ahead and duplicate a lot of them. Will it update correctly? Because this is actually our scenario. We're going to have all these save files, and we're going to create buttons for all of them, and the player can click on any one of those save files, the buttons, to load that particular session up, to reload that world. And I guess that's it. It is working, and our scroll bar is working nicely, so no complaints there. I will shut that down and get rid of all of these to restore that. And as for our canvas load game, I'll turn it off and switch it back to the canvas main menu. So I'll go ahead and give it a final run, and that is pretty much it for this video. It was to set up the UI. I mean, I prefer to try and set up the UI separate from trying to do it while also trying to write a script and record it all in the same video. It gets a bit confusing for me. So it's just easier for me, and just a bit easier for me to get the information across to you. So if I hit new game, good, it's all there. If I hit load game, That's there. That's all good. Obviously, exit game doesn't work right now. We're going to have a bit of code, and that's going to come in the next script where there'll be a little bit more functionality here, but a whole lot will come once we have saving and loading fully implemented, and that's all coming up. So I guess that's it for this video, and I'll see you in the next one.